I've just got some bog standard t-shirts here that I'm going to chop up. So we're going to turn one into a bag and then one into some t-shirt yarns. I think we're going to turn one of these white ones into a bag. And this is a great way to use up old t-shirts. I'm just going to check that my sound is on. That's all good. And just going to make sure that we have got some music in the background. Yes, we do. So what we're going to do to start with is flatten the t-shirt out like this. Make sure I can see this on my other screen. Make sure it's looking okay. Get rid of that wire. So, sorry. It's a mess. There we go. Hopefully that is stored above now. So what we're going to do here is we're going to chop off there, there, and there. So if I draw on where we're going to chop. I had another meeting right before this as well, so didn't have long to kind of sort out my table, and it's still quite messy. Like that sort of curve. And this is dead simple. It's the t-shirt yarn that's a little bit more complicated. But it's the kind of thing you can always add embellishment to. You could always draw on the bag first. Well, draw on the t-shirt first. So then we've got that, and I'm going to save that for rag rugging. And then same on this side. And you don't have to worry too much about getting it super, super neat. Because the best thing about t-shirt fabric is when you cut it, afterwards, it curls up on itself. So I'm just realizing I've done one much wider than the other. That's okay. That is not a problem. But then here, we're going to cut a curve into it like that. So I've just gone for a really boring t-shirt here. Obviously, you could do this with a jazzier t-shirt. But I've got a few workshops coming up doing this in person. So I thought I wanted to make sure that I saved the really nice t-shirts for the workshop. And we can discard that bit. And I saw a version online where someone literally turned the bag inside out. So you've got your handles there. And their version of this was to literally get a hair tie, ruche all of this together. So it's all gathered. Like that sort of thing. And then turned it inside out. So then you have a bag that's gathered at the bottom. Like that. But obviously, it looks a bit rubbish, to be honest. So we're going to go one better. So we've got loads of these sessions coming up. So this is the first one that I've done that's sort of not a mending technique. Because I thought, you know what, let's do something a little bit different this time. So if there's anything else kind of in the vein of textiles that you would like me to do a session on, do let me know. Obviously, it all, even if it's not repair, it needs to be around recycling. So this is reusing old t-shirts. So what I'm going to do is this seam at the bottom, I'm just going to chop it off. And I'm going to put some nice, no, I won't put music on yet. I'll do that once we get to a bit where I can turn my mic off from here, or we'll get some wild feedback. But you could also like tie-dye a t-shirt before. That would look really cool. If you've got really boring t-shirts like this, tie-dyeing them is a very good way to sort it. And these bits here, they're really difficult bits to use because they're just, I've used them for like tying in tomato plants before and things like that. But what I tend to do with them now is fold them back on themselves like that. And actually, let's do this like this. So if you snip right next to the stitch line, by the way, you can hear a crackling noise in the background because I've got a little candle on and it's got one of those crackling wicks. So every so often you might hear a little woodland crackly noise. It's quite nice. And because these bits are folded, it's going to be double the width afterwards. And then this bit I'm going to probably put in a bag. Don't know what we'll do with it. I'll take it to the shop and hopefully one day we can find a use for it. But this bit, when you open it out, it's actually a good width for rag rugging with. Or another alternative is if we pull it, it curls in on itself like that. So then we've got a small length of t-shirt yarn. We can wind it into a ball. And there we go. Just gonna have a little sip of my tea. So now the next bit is marking these bits. This is when I should have really bought a fabric pen with me, but we've just got a plain old felt tip here, so we'll use this. So we want to make sure this is nice and flat, which is easier said than done when I have a slightly crowded work surface over here. So make sure it's nice and flat, and it will never sit exactly, but there we go. And then I think every sort of inch, yeah, every inch, we're going to mark off. Now, obviously, if I'd thought beforehand, I would get a pen that was going to disappear. But this is probably a good example for the next workshop I'm doing as well. So once you've got all of those marked off, pop that away. Then we're going to cut these. I'll zoom this in a little bit more. About an sort of 1.5 inches high, up like that. So if you're a person who likes to be exact, you could measure that out. I don't particularly like to be exact. I like to kind of wing it a little bit. But however you work, that is absolutely fine. So I've got a bit here where I've cut it and one side is a lot lower than the other. We'll work that out when we get to it. So then once we've got all of that done, and you can cut it a little bit higher than that, we'll see how we go. So you pull them, right, we are going to cut it a little bit higher. That's not quite tall enough. It's been a while since I've done this. Background music on. Now what we're going to do is sort of pull each one tight, and that will make it curl together like that. And then we're going to do one from the back and one from the front and tie it together. A nice double knot like that. And you can do different sorts of knots as well. You don't have to do a double knot. I'm going to do another double knot on this one. You could do things like macrame knots. So with macrame knots, you'd have two cords in the middle, one either side. This might be a little bit short for it. So one goes over the top of the middle. In fact, we'll do it over one instead of over two. So the one on the right goes over the middle bit of cord. This one goes on top of that, like that. And then the one on top goes behind the middle one and through this loop on the other side. Tie that up. And then same on the other side. So the left hand goes over the middle one. The right hand one goes on top like that. It goes under and through that loop. And then you pull it tight, and that's called a square knot. So that's a really nice sturdy knot. If we made them a little bit longer, that would be a nice one to do. But I think with the rest of them, for ease, we're just going to tie them. So one from the front, one from the back, double knot it together. There we go. We've got a nice t-shirt bag. So it's all joined in at the bottom. Got handles at the top. And that is ready to go. Let's see if I can put. Don't know if you'll be able to see me on the playback, but there we go. So super quick and easy. Holds quite a lot of stuff as well. It's a pretty good bag. And if it's a boring t-shirt like this, you can always decorate it after or before and make it look fab. Show you a few different little bits. So what you can do as well is if you cut them a bit longer, then you can braid them together at the bottom. You can also snip all of these bits a bit shorter so it gives it a more fringy look. So it won't work on all of them, but on some of the slightly chunkier ones. You could always add in other colours as well. This is a point where you could add in some pom-poms, you could stitch some bits onto it, cut down the side and tie all of that if you wanted, or you could weave some bits through it. And it just gives it a slightly different look where it's a bit more fringy. Nice to look at. So that is how you make a bag out of a t-shirt. Give me one sec. I'm just going to make a little note of something before I forget. And then we'll get on to making some t-shirt yarn very, very quickly. Right. So we'll get this out of the way. We'll go on to another one. So we've got a nice big t-shirt here. I've got like a little teapot next to me. I'm going to get it out of the way so I've got a bit more table space. It'd be lovely to have a bigger table, but sadly I only have a tiny table to work on at home. So we've got this big yellow t-shirt here. And we're going to fold it so there's a bit of a gap at the top. Like this kind of thing. So then we're going to, like the last one, we're going to cut the seam off just here. So you could always use this bit for another thing, like you could add this as a handle to a bag, use it to weave through some other things, anything you like. Then we're going to get our ruler back. Oh, sorry, we're going to cut this one at every 1.5 inches. So to start with, rather than mark it off, I'm just going to do a little snip at every 1.5 inches. And we're going to keep going until we get to the armpit, so about there. And then we're going to trim through it. Right up to the top like that. So cut it off. So there'll be a little excess bit here. But again, I tend to use these bits for rag rugging. These are t-shirts from Tour de Yorkshire, long time ago, that I'm only just getting to the end of them. Oh yeah, and with this, so this kind of print is a kind of plasticky on the surface print. So if you make t-shirt yarn out of this, it doesn't really work very well because it kind of curls up on itself and goes a bit funny. So if you had a t-shirt that was covered in this kind of print, it's not really suitable, but it is good for other things. So I'm going to pop that to one side. And t-shirts like this, this one was one where loads were bought for Tour de Yorkshire and they were never used by Leeds Building Society. So similarly, this one, it doesn't have a seam on the side of it. So a lot of kind of marathon t-shirts won't, because they'll irritate people if they've got a seam. So they're really good, because if they have a seam, it shows up in your t-shirt yarn. So if you go to charity shops, they often get given things like that and they can't really do anything with them, because what they're going to do is someone's old sweaty marathon t-shirt that they've only worn once. So if you can always chat to them and ask them if they've got any t-shirts they can't sell. Main thing is, when you look at it close up, it can't have broken bits of elastic visible if you stretch it like that, because that won't work properly. But if it's like this, completely unworn or relatively new, it'll be absolutely fine. And then what we're going to do, this is the bit that always confuses people. So we're going to cut through both layers up to this line, but not this line. Like that. So that one's cut through, that one's still attached. So we're going to do that with the whole thing. So if you've got a t-shirt that's got stains on it, that like you're not going to wear anymore, it's too small for you, and it's the kind of thing where maybe there's a little hole or something and you're not going to wear it, it's not the kind of thing a charity shop will take, because please don't give charity shops t-shirts with holes in and stains on. They get enough of that. But this is a really good use for them, because once it's turned into yarn, you don't see things like that and it just doesn't matter. So let's put some music back on. So then we have this thing that's all attached at one side and not at the other. So you've got this strip at the top where it's kind of like a rib cage. So this is all attached and the bits around it are not. So then what we're going to do is this bit really throws people. So what I'm going to do is not cut it to start with, so that I can redo it 3 times. So you go from here So the middle point here to the line up there. So from there to there, from here to here. Now I will actually cut it. So from there to there. So from the middle to the first hole. And then same on this one. So now you just go from the bottom hole to the top hole. So it's really good to put it across your arm like this, being very careful of your clothes underneath. And then it's just parallel lines. So from here to there. You just keep going like that. So this was taught to me by someone in Finland when I lived there for a little while, because they apparently do this with all of their t-shirts. And then when you get to the end here, you go from this one to this middle point there. So from there to there. That gives you this beautiful continuous strand like that. So then what we're going to do is pull it and release it. And releasing it is really, really important, because if you pull it and keep it pulled as you wrap it around your hand, then basically you're going to end up with something that all of the stretch is gone from once you get to the center. So you pull, release, wind, pull, release, wind, pull, release, wind, pull, release, wind. And you just keep going like that until it gets to the end. So you can use this for all sorts. You can use it for knitting, crocheting, braiding, macrame. If there's any of those things that you would like to learn on these sessions, do send in a message and let me know. What I normally do is I make jewelry out of this. So I'll show you a few different techniques for that. And if I've got a big crochet hook near me, then I'll show you how to do the start of some crochet and how easy it is with this. But you get a fair bit from it. Like, obviously, the bigger the t-shirt, the more t-shirt yarn you get from it. So there we go. We have a beautiful ball of t-shirt yarn. And when it's something like this where it's been unused, it's lovely to work with. So let's see what I've got over here. I think I've got a big chunky crochet hook. So really nice to crochet with. I'll show you how to do a little starter. And if you'd like more crochet, do let me know. So I'm going to make a little knot to begin with. Like that sort of thing. Put my hook in. And wrap around. So we call this a yarn over. So you yarn over and pull it through. So this is a chain. Yarn over, pull it through, yarn over, pull it through, yarn over, pull it through. And then we're going to put it through that first loop there, yarn over and pull it through both those two to join it in the center. This hook is definitely too small for this t-shirt yarn. Have I got anything bigger? That might be. Yeah. Let's try that. This is a wooden crochet hook that I don't think I've actually used yet. So then I'll show you how to do a granny square. So for a granny square, we're going to chain 3. So yarn over, oh, pull it through. This is not the easiest. Yarn over, pull it through, yarn over, pull it through. So now we're going to do something called a double crochet. So for a double crochet, you go on top like this. And then for this, we're going to go through the middle like that. Wrap it around, bring it up like that. So we've got 3 on the hook. So then you yarn over and pull through just the first 2. And then yarn over and pull through the second 2. So we're going to yarn over, go through the center, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, ooh, pull through the third. So if we're doing a granny square, we would then chain 2. So 1, 2. Then we're going to yarn over, go through the center, yarn over, pull it through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And then we'll do the same again. So we'll get to the end of this row of granny squares. And then I'll show you a different technique with it. So this is just because I had my crochet hooks in front of me. So yarn over, go through the middle, yarn over, to the top, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So we've got 3 there. So then we're going to, this is quite a tough crochet hook. Very beautiful, but maybe not the most practical. So the thing with t-shirt yarn is because it's so chunky, when you use it for things, it does work up quite quickly. So it uses quite a lot of cord to do anything really. But it is very nice. Ooh. Then we'll do the final little bit, because with a granny square you do, for the most part, you do 3 groups, 4 groups of 3. If you do 3 groups of 3, you end up with a triangle. If you do 5 groups of 3, you get a hexagon or a pentagon even. Yeah, you probably get the idea from that. So that thing makes something similar to one of these little squares, which is what I've been working on recently. And the best thing is if you decide, no, I don't want to use it for crochet, something that's very, very easy because of how defined the shape is and how it's not very fluffy and you can't really go through the center of it. It's very easy to pull it apart. Then you're left with your big ball of t-shirt yarn again. So if we wanted to do some finger knitting, make some jewelry out of it. So you put a piece over your palm like that. And then this bit here goes behind the first finger, in front of the second, and around the third. So we ignore this one here. This is like a tensioning strand, but we're doing little figures of 8. So behind, around, in front, around, behind, in front, in front. So we do it until, ignoring this one here, we've got 2 loops on each finger when the palm is facing us. I can see a little blackbird outside my window. And then the bottom one here on each finger, if anyone's done knitting before, it's like casting off. You just pull it over the top, over the top, over the top. And then with this bit here, you just kind of pull it every so often just so it's tensioned. and then push it down slightly, but you want to keep it to the first groove of your fingers. Just noticed that my laptop is about to die, so somehow the charger came out at some point, so I'm just going to put that back in. Okay, that's better. Yep, that's charging. So then do the same thing, wrap around, behind, around, in front until you've got 2 loops on each finger, ignoring that one. Then you take the bottom over the top, bottom over the top, bottom over the top, push it down a little bit, give it a little bit of tension. Although actually at this point we can bring this to the back, give it a bit of a pull. You see how that goes into like a nice point. Then we're going to do the same, around, behind, around, in front. Take the bottom over the top. And then same thing again. And then every so often give it a little pull like that so it's not getting bunched up around your fingers. And you just keep going like that. And you can do this with all sorts of different yarn, but I find t-shirt yarn's really nice for it. You see how it grows into something quite quickly. Every so often just check the length. So I tend to do sort of this sort of length. So, but you can keep going. So it's something that goes all the way around your neck, but I quite like to have just a small section of this. You can use this for a belt as well. It's quite nice for that. But then what you do when you are ready is you cut off another piece at the other end. So kind of enough that it will tie around your neck. And then with this, you thread through one here, one here. So you leave the middle one till last because that gives you a nice point. And then thread through that one as well. Give that a little tug. Stretch the whole thing. And there you go. And you can put some beads on it as well and it'll look really lovely. But again, if you decide, no, I'm not bothered about that, I'm probably not going to wear it. And there are other things you can do as well. just like that. The doorbell's just gone, so I'm just going to be one. So you can do loads of other things like that. One that I really like is one where you create a U shape like this. Normally you'd pin it to a board, but I don't think I have a board with me. At least not within reachable distance. So I'm going to ball up a small bit of this. It's easier to manage when it's all balled up. And then with these, so you have one section at the top like that. And then you go, again, it's little figures of 8. So under that one, over that one, under this one, up through the middle. So it's sort of like if you pull it downwards, it's a basic braid, a basic 3-strand braid. But the way we're doing it, we're forcing it upwards like this. So we're working around these 2 cords. So with this one, oh, sorry. So with this one, once you get to the end of it, then you pull the opposite side and it curls it all up. So it doesn't have to be quite that curled, but you could keep curling it and make like a weird little kind of twisty turny snail thing. But if you keep it a little bit looser, then it makes quite a nice little necklace. Again, you can pop some beads on it. Looks good. But once again, if you decide, no, that's not it, I don't want that, then because it's all on a central cord, if you get the right one, then you pull it, not quite, oh, it's got itself into a knot, that's why. There we go. If you get the right one, give it a pull, then it all comes apart and you can very easily ball it up again. And with this as well, with the bag we made earlier, Just grab that. So because t-shirts don't tend to really fray, can always do some things like this with it, where if we cut some holes down the side, and we can put some cord through it. And can kind of braid with it. So if you twist it round in between each one, then it will cross over. And if you want to change the shape of things, you can always kind of pull that together to make the bag a little bit shorter at the side, so it kind of ruches it up. I've not done the best job there, but that's okay. Or if I'd wanted to, I could have worked this into there. Could kind of thread it through here and do a little knot on it. There's all sorts of different things you can do with it. It's a really good versatile thing. And I'll show you some macrame knots a little bit clearer. If I can find something to attach it to. If we pop it under here, yeah, that should be heavy enough. So you generally have 2 middle cords in macrame, and then 1 either side like this. So you generally always have 1 bit that goes over the middle 2, and then the opposite side goes on top. So whatever this one does, that one's done its job, it's gone away over there. This one does the opposite. So this one is going to go underneath, and then it's going to go behind and through like that. So we're going to tighten that up. So if we're going to do something called a square knot, which ends up staying flat, just going to untwist that, there we go. Then you do the same on the opposite side. So the left will go over the middle 2, that one will go on top, this one will go under the middle 2 and through this loop from behind. And then you tighten it like that. And then you look for this little bump here. And the little bump that's on top like that, that will be the side you do next. And that will go over 2. This one will go on top. This one goes under 2 and through the loop from behind. And then this little bump here says that we're doing this side next. So this one goes over 2, this one goes on top, goes under and through. And if you wanted to not do a square knot and you wanted to do spirals, you'd simply do it all on the right hand side instead. So that gives a really flat knot. This is going to spiral round. So you just keep doing it on the right hand side. And quickly it will become a little spiral. Like that kind of thing. So once again, if there's anything in particular, clothes and upcycling base that you would like me to show you, do let me know. We've got a lot of these to go. If not, I'll keep thinking up some different things each week. And then again with this one, if you're not happy with it, all you do is just pull the middle bit there. Well, not the middle bit, but this little flat line here. Just pull it up and then it all comes out. Right. I hope that was useful. If there's any questions or anything, do let me know and tune in next week. Not decided what we're doing next week yet, but I'll work it out. There's always so many options. Right. Have a really good week. Take care of yourself.